Oh, just in case you want to jump off if you don't want to be recorded or be on a recorded meeting, you have your chance to get out now. Duck out. So, Robin, Taylor, hello.
Hi.
Thank you for
Hi.
being here with us. I'm going to fill a couple minutes just to give everybody a chance to settle in so that they don't miss anything. But since we are recording, they can always go back and come at the beginning to see if they missed anything that they can catch. So a little bit about Warwick's. I'm assuming most of you know what Warwick's is. At least you visit our website because that's how you got a ticket to get in here. But for those of you that don't know, we are located in La Jolla, San Diego, California. We are, my little sign says it's 1896. We are celebrating our 125th anniversary this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and we're a woman-owned business. Nancy is a fourth generation owner. So in those 125 years, we've seen a lot. I mean, this is our second pandemic, 2 world wars.
Wow.
There was a time we were looking through some archives and they were cracking up because when TV was invented, they were afraid that books were going to go away because of TV. So those are the so it's like the ebook thing. We lived through ebook, it's really funny to look at some of the old archives that's happening. But some of you have already ordered Taylor's book. Where's my copy? I took it out in the other room. Darn it.
I've got one.
There it is. There it is.
Malibu Rising. There it is. And the sunglasses, those of you that pre-ordered the book are getting the sunglasses.
We got those too.
So there you go. Love those. So we'll be shipping those out to you tomorrow. But I will also put in, there's some of you that may not have gotten the book yet. So I will put that into the chat. You can easily click that. And if you're watching on YouTube later, sorry, you could just go to our website and order it. And so, like I like to say, any way there is to get a book, you can get it from Warwick. So we can ship it to you. But if you're in the San Diego area, we would love for you to come by the store. Nothing better than shopping at Warwick's. We've actually hosted both Robin and Taylor at the store, which was wonderful. So there's that. They're going to chat, Robin and Taylor are going to chat for about 30-ish minutes. So we are going to do a Q&A after they're done chatting. We won't be bringing in the questions live. So there's a Q&A, but if you scroll over your screen, there's a little Q&A button down at the bottom there. You can go ahead and put some questions in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can. I have a feeling there'll be lots of questions, but might be some repeats too, but we'll get to as many of them as we can. So I think everybody's loving it in the chat. Hello from Chicago. So we're excited that everybody's here with us. So I'm going to do a quick intro and then I'm going to turn it over to Robin and Taylor. So Taylor Jenkins Reid is the New York Times bestselling author of 7 novels, including J.Z. Jones and the Six and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I had the pleasure of hosting Taylor a few hours ago at a luncheon. And we were talking about how awesome it is that The 7 Husbands of Evelyn is still on the New York Times bestseller list. So kudos and congratulations on that. It's amazing. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband and their daughter. We're here tonight to talk about Malibu Rising. Wish I had it again so I could hold it up. Somebody hold that up for me. There you go. There it is. Yay. Got to keep holding that up. There's so many great things to talk about. So I can't wait to hear the conversation. And Robin Lee is an author, writer, and producer. Her debut novel, The Idea of You, came out in 2017. And like I said, we hosted her for a wonderful event at Warwick. So I'm thinking we need to get you guys down here to San Diego together at some point.
I'm ready.
Maybe for Robin's, that's fine. She's a graduate of Yale University and Columbia Law School. Robin was born and raised in Westchester County, New York. Robin has numerous acting credits in both television and film, most notably opposite Will Smith in both Hitch and 7 Pounds, and as Ross Bailey in 50 Shades Darker and 50 Shades Freed. She lives in Los Angeles as well with her husband and 2 children. So ladies, have a great conversation. See you after.
Thank you.
Hey, Julie. Thank you. Taylor.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I'm realizing this is your 7th novel.
Yeah.
Which is a huge triumph. I mean, those of you who try to write know just getting 1 novel done is like a miracle. And for a while you were cranking out 1 a year, and then you had a baby, and now it's like 1 every 2 years, if that.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Tell me about how you do it, how you find the time, and then we're going to get into the story itself.
Yeah, I don't know how I do it. And to be honest, I'm tired. I I think honestly what it is that when I get an idea that I get excited about, that nothing's going to stop me. I can't get it out of my head. And so I'm always, my friends are always joking. I'm like, you don't understand. After this book, I'm taking some time off. And it's just gotten to the point where like people don't believe me anymore. But it's just because I just get too excited. I get so excited about the next thing that I'm going to do. So it's been nice to move to a book every other year and take more time with it. And it means that I get to engage with the work more and edit it more. And so I keep to a pretty steady schedule of, you know, a first draft takes this long, a second draft takes that long. And I really try to hammer away at it in a very sort of pedestrian and unglamorous way. But what's been nice about taking a little bit more time in between books is that I've afforded myself this huge research period of time that I didn't have previously. And it's just been, I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of my job now, is that time that I can just dedicate to throwing myself into something and learning all about it, so that by the time I settle into my first draft, I know enough about how to pretend I'm a surfer to like pull you in.
So many questions. Yes.
Yeah.
It's apparent. And I feel like that level of research makes the material that much more rich, and it makes it that much, I mean, it's so much easier for the reader to kind of dive into it, and you know the world so well, and it's really beautiful to see.
Thank you. I really try to do all of the work so that the reader doesn't have to, you know, so that I'm giving you every piece of information that you need, or any small detail that just pulls you into that place and makes you feel like you're there. I'm really trying to transport people, especially now when, you know, everybody's stuck at home. It's like, let me take you to Malibu in 1983.
Okay, which takes us to the story. Tell us about the book. What's it about, and what inspired you to write it?
So Malibu Rising is the story of the Riva family. They are 4 adult children, Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit, who are the children of Mick Riva, who in the world that I'm creating is sort of like Frank Sinatra or Elvis. Like, he's huge, but he abandoned them when they were young. And so they've and their mother has had her own problems, and so they have had, for a long period of time, they've had to raise themselves. Nice. But by August of 1983, they've become famous in their own right as surfers and models and photographers, and they're like the cool kids in LA, and everybody wants to go to their famous Riva party rager that happens every summer. And in August of 1983, the Riva party grows wildly out of control. All these famous people are arrested, the house is trashed, and eventually it catches fire. And so Malibu Rising takes you hour by hour through the day of the party, each sibling understanding who they are, you know, leading up to this party, and then how everything sort of explodes from there. But it also goes back in time to tell you the story of this family over a few decades. So there's a couple storylines happening there, and you get a little 80s Malibu, but then you also get a little like 50s, 60s Malibu too.
Excellent. So what inspired you? Where did the idea come from?
It came from a lot of different places at once. I think the biggest thing for me is that I wanted to write Nina Riva. And Nina is the main character of the story, though it is an ensemble. It is 4 siblings and their parents. So there are a lot of people to connect to, but for me, the point of the story was Nina. And I really wanted to explore, and I think it's something that's uniquely true to women, but it's not only women that this happens to, but there are people in the world who are the ones that are always picking up the pieces that other people are leaving behind. And I wanted to write about who's the sort of woman who is always going to do the thing that needs to get done, no matter how hard it is or how much it weighs on her. Not the, you know, and then in opposition to her father, because Mick Riva is sort of the guy who is going to do whatever he wants to do, regardless of where the chips fall, knowing that, you know, in some ways the women in his wake will clean up his messes. So I really wanted to take Nina on this journey of, she's the person who's been holding the world up on her shoulders for her siblings. And when someone like that hits a breaking point, what happens? what does that break look like? Do they implode or explode? You know, are they able to move on from these patterns that they've created? I was just really interested in her. So that was the first piece for me. And then it was like, well, who are her siblings? And what if I set it in Malibu? And if it's in Malibu, they should all be surfers. Wouldn't that be fun? And it all sort of came together into this idea that I could put everybody at this party and just make everything go haywire.
At what point, because so Nina's and the kids, their father is Mick Riva.
Yeah.
And as I was reading, I was like, I know this name. I have to go back. He's got to be in Daisy. Why do I know him? I discovered that not he's in Daisy, but he's also in Evelyn.
Yes, very good.
At what point did you realize this was going to be Mick Riva's family? And what made you choose to use him and like an intertwine? And what is it that stood out to you? Like, tell us how that happened.
So when I was writing The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so Mick Riva is oh my God, you're so good.
We've got everything here. We're just gonna go through.
Mick Riva is Evelyn's third husband, and I loved writing that chapter. It's a very specific chapter. I don't want to give anything away, but it's sort of when Evelyn is her most Evelyn, and I just loved it. I just felt like I was doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing in that moment of like, this is the story I'm supposed to be writing. Okay. So I just have as much as I don't like Mick Riva as a person, I like writing him a lot. And so when it was time to write Daisy Jones, I was like, well, I want to put these in the same universe. I want it to be clear that, Daisy Jones is a rock star during this period of time when like Evelyn Hugo's in New York in the 70s, during doing her thing. And so I was like, well, I'll just put Mick Riva here because I love writing him. And then when I asked myself, okay, I want to write about this woman who has to shoulder the burden of her father leaving. And I wanted to explore what it would feel like if your father's never around, but he's everywhere. Like, everyone knows your father and you don't know your father. You know your father as much as the world knows him. Right. That he doesn't belong to you any more than he belongs to the person listening to his song on the radio. And so it was like, well, what famous man is going to abandon his family? Mick Riva would do that. Mick, and once that came together for me, I understood what time period I was in. I understood what kind of children would start to come from this sort of man, and also what sort of woman would fall in love with him. And that and that's how the family formed. It's like once I understood Mick and Nina, it was like, okay, well, there's got to be a Jay. There's got to be the second son who's like a little mini Mick but doesn't realize it, and then there's got to be the sensitive one, and then there's got to be which I think at some point Mick refers to her as like the one with the mouth on her, which is what Kid is. And then there's got to be June. There's got to be a woman who can't
suffering
can't understand who she married. Just can't bring herself to admit who it is that she married.
Yeah. Did you know it was going to be in the 80s first, or once you figured out you're going to bring Mick in, then the timeline kind of linked up to the 80s?
I really wanted it to be the 80s because when Daisy Jones ends in 1979, and I had been doing so much research of that time period and listening to the music, and it was like, just in terms of like from a historical point of view, I could feel the 80s looming, the way that the music was changing. I was like, we're about to get into synthesizers real quick. Like Springsteen's Born in the USA is coming, like I could feel that. And I really wanted to go to that time. But once I had committed to it being Mick Riva, I had a timeline in other books that I had to account for. And so it became, okay, what is the story? Where does the story naturally land?
Right.
And once I realized it naturally lands in the early 80s, I got really, really excited because what I think is fun about the early 80s is that we think of the 80s as this it's a period of excess, and it's John Hughes movies, and it's and it is very much that, but that's a lot of like mid and late 80s. in the early 80s, the 80s were still trying to figure out what they were. It was still, we're coming out of the 70s. And so it was in me trying to figure out exactly what part of our culture this was living in. It was, the sort of nascent 80s when these things are just starting to happen, when it's not, we're not quite at greed is good. We're not quite there yet, but it's simmering.
Right.
Like all these things are about to happen. And that felt like a really fun place to explore.
I had a question about Mick, Riva again, and Evelyn, and you alluding to the 24 hours that he was married to an actress and then annulled it, but specifically did not say her name.
Yes.
Why did you choose to do that? I totally have me go back and dig, who could that possibly be?
I know, I was being very crafty. I think really what it was that I wanted it to be a piece of information, because really who he marries for 24 hours and then has it annulled within his story and the story of June's story, which is really when we learned that, doesn't really matter. Right. But for people who are following this, I just wanted to give a sense of I think I know who that was. I think I know who he married. That just, it feels more like a puzzle. And I love a good puzzle.
I love that too. So you write a lot, at least these last 3 novels that I'm thinking of, really kind of focus on fame and celebrity and the consequences. And what do you think it is about that that's so appealing to you? Or what do you think is so appealing to us as readers? Because it's endlessly appealing. Why do you think we want to know everything and the down and dirty about and what is that? And also, is that what brought you to California originally?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to be here because I wanted to see what all of this was about. To me, it was film and television was the most exciting thing when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. It was there were so many different TV shows or movies that I wanted to go through the TV and live in that world.
I say that all the time. That was my thing. And I'm a little older than you. So when I was little, our TV was a box, it was it wasn't a flat screen. Yeah. And I used to walk around and look at the back of the box, wonder how did people
do you get in there?
And how could I live in the TV? Yeah,
I very much felt it wasn't just, I was really into I Love Lucy when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just, this is a funny show. Right. To me, it was, this is a funny show. Who is she? How could I spend time with her? What would it be like to be there? And so, other kids are hanging, swimming in the pool, and I'm reading Lucille Ball's autobiography, and it's I've just been fascinated by that. And here's where I think, and I feel like I'm just getting darker up here.
No, it's fine. It's still beautiful.
I was saying to Robin ahead of time that the sun here is just crazy. But anyway, here's what I think is interesting about it from the point of view of storytelling, which is that what I love about Hollywood as a place to tell a specific story is that it's operating at 2 levels all the time. And I feel like, Robin, you know this more so than anyone. There's the story that you're telling, and then there's what the truth is, right? And that's not just in terms of you're on a set and you're telling a story, but it's also, to fans, actors have to always be telling a story. What's the narrative? Right. Are you an ingenue? Are you a genius? There's always a story that you're being told about what's happening in Hollywood. And it's never exactly the truth. It can't be, because it's a product. It's for sale. It's for an intended purpose. This actress is this sort of person. She dates these sort of people. She's unlucky in love. She's lucky in, whatever story's being told, it's not exactly what's happening.
Right. And
so automatically right now we have 2 tracks. Yep. We have the image and we have the truth. And the storytelling just gets so much more complicated from that, and complex from that vantage point.
Right.
What are you telling me is happening? What is actually happening? How do those two things heighten each other? So it's for Nina, what I'm interested in is, okay, she's beautiful and she's a supermodel and she's the daughter of a famous person and she's married to a tennis star and she lives in a mansion. Who wouldn't want to be Nina Riva? And it's like, look at what it's really like to be Nina Riva. Look at what it feels like to go through the world and the only thing anybody thinks you're good at is to be beautiful. And they think that they can touch you and they think that they own you and that you're an object for them to put all of their desire onto.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel as good as we're told that it does. And so for all of these women, there's the truth behind the legend, and that gives me two modes of storytelling right at the top. And that's what I just love to do right now.
That's awesome. I think I won't ask too much, but well, never mind. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about what I love about this book is that it's got all these myriad characters and relationships, but at the heart of it is the siblings. It's the kids, and like watching them grow into themselves and discover who they are is a huge part of the joy and the triumph of the story. And as a reader, we become emotionally invested, and it's almost like watching it's almost like a coming of age thing or a love story and watching these people grow, but it's a family and it's siblings. And it was just an interesting take. And I'm wondering what made you decide to do it that way? Like why?
I think in general, I'm really taken with unconventional shapes of families. I think that, I had an unconventional shape of my family growing up, and it's something that I explored in Evelyn Hugo for a period of time where, she ends up having this, what I feel is a really joyful and beautiful family, but it doesn't look the way that the traditional family is supposed to look. And I think with this, I really wanted to explore the bonds between people. What makes a family? Is it that you're all blood related? That can't actually be the answer.
Right.
And so, your dad, who you're blood related to, may take off, and you may, in some ways, lose your mom. Is it less of a family? No. And I really wanted to show the beauty of people that choose each other and stand by each other no matter what. Mm-hmm. I think there are parts of this story that are really sad. There are parts of it for me that were hard to write. And I wanted to make clear that the beauty of the story is these siblings care about each other so much. And through this terrible situation have become sort of this motley crew of kids who will never ever give up on each other. Right. And that's just the thing for me that maybe it's just that I'm like aiming for my own heartstrings, but I think like that's a thing for me that will stick with me about these four, is that loyalty and dedication.
I totally agree. I want to discuss some of your best quotes. And, this is my favorite quote. You have this, there's a part in the book, and it's not giving anything away, but it's one passage that just really stood out to me, and talking about family and siblings, and it made me think about also relationships between like mothers and their children, and how we pass on all that baggage or not, or whatever. And I just wanted to read it because I thought it was extraordinary reading it as a mother. I have two kids, and you have a daughter, and also reading it as a daughter, and all the weight. So Nina suddenly had a picture in her head. It was as if June had given her a box, as if every parent gives their children a box full of the things they carried. June had given her children this box packed to the brim with her own experiences, her own treasures and heartbreaks, her own guilts and pleasures, triumphs and losses, values and biases, duties and sorrows. And Nina had been carrying around this box for her whole life, feeling the full weight of it. But it was not, Nina saw just then, her job to carry the full box. Her job was to sort through the box, decide what to keep and to put the rest down. She had to choose what of the things she inherited from the people who came before her she wanted to bring forward, and what of the past she wanted to leave behind.
Thank you. Thank you.
I may have stopped and cried a little bit. And it made me think of like all the things, the weight that I carry from my own parents and their expectation of me.
Yeah.
And I see putting on my kids, like my son is almost 16 and I'm putting it on, like, what are we going to do for college? And and why aren't you thinking? And I'm thinking, oh, when I read that, it's like, oh my God, this is all stuff I'm putting in his box that he's going to be like,
right. Get out of here. I got to put this down. Yeah.
But I've never thought about it that way. And I thought that was so enlightening. And I want to know what made you, how did you discover that? Where did that come from?
I actually have a very, very specific answer for this. I had written the first couple of drafts and I had sent it to my editor. And one of the things that the two of us were trying to work on is to really make the understanding that this is a story about generational patterns. Mm-hmm. And, I bring that to the forefront. And I was trying to think about, for a long time, I was thinking about how do I say what I want to say? That it's not that you throw away everything that your parents give you. Right. And it's not that you take everything that your parents give you. It's something in between.
Right.
And I was like working on that chapter and I like finished for the day and I went and I took a shower and I was taking a shower and I go, it's like a box. In my head, I was like, it's like a box that you have to sort through. And as you see it there, I was very worried that I would forget. And I was hearing it in my head. It was coming through in like perfect sentences in my head. And I was like, I know that if I try to do this later, it won't come out this way.
Right.
So I wrote it in the steam of my shower. I wrote the entire paragraph and then had to later go turn the steam back on in my shower to get it to show up again. And I wrote it down. But I heard it. I've been thinking for a long time. And then suddenly I just, it's like when you turn your brain off and suddenly it all comes forward. And I was like, it's a box. And I'm so glad that I feel immensely flattered that spoke to you because
oh my goodness.
I was thinking of it just as you were saying. I'm a child and I'm a mother. And I think anytime, you occupy that space of being both, mm-hmm. it allows you to have a lot of compassion for your parents. Right. And it also allows you to understand, okay, I have a kid now. And so I know what it feels like to love. And I know what I want for my kids. And I have to learn from what came before. Right. And yet, if you throw it all out, if you say, well, the way my parents raised me wasn't perfect, I'm not going to do it their way, you're throwing out so many things that could be really wonderful. There are things from my mom that I don't want to give to my kid, and there are things from my mom I want to give to my kid, but absolutely. If you don't investigate them, yep. if you don't dig through it, yeah, you can't be conscious of what you're passing on. And so to me, that paragraph is the whole book. And it just means a lot that you saw that. So thank you.
It means a lot that you wrote it in the shower and you in the shower to write it down.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, wow. I'm kind of blown away by that. I'm looking at our time. I wanted to talk to you about surfing because it plays such a huge role in this. I'm not a surfer. I have a serious shark phobia.
That's a perfectly reasonable phobia.
That's a reasonable phobia, but I also have a fear of drowning. I don't like deep water. I can't see the bottom, and I don't like the cold, and the Pacific is cold. So all these reasons I make it like, unless it's like I'm in a pool maybe, or like tropical waters, I'm not going, and there's no sharks, I'm not going to surf. I want to know, were you a surfer prior to this? Are you a surfer now? How long have you been doing it? How did you research it? Because you made me want to surf. And I was like, maybe
Oh,
I'll
wow.
brave, maybe I'll put on a wetsuit and bring in the sharks and just like try it. And my son has a friend who lives on Point Doom, and he's surfed there. And now that I know about it, it's like, tell me about blah, blah, blah. Like, do you guys use longboards or shortboard? Like I know so much now. I didn't know there's a difference. I didn't know there were two kinds of boards like 5 days ago.
I really have almost never surfed. The times in my life where I have tried have been a joke. And really there's only two. And the second one was when I was in Hawaii while writing this book. And my husband was like, if you go take that surf lesson, this vacation's a business expense. And I was like, okay, fine.
It is.
And it was a disaster. I'm not athletically inclined. That should surprise no one at this point. But what I can do is fake it. And I think for me, what's so cool about surfing and what I've personally fallen in love with is it's kind of like when someone doesn't play football, but they love to watch, like, it's going to be like a football team. I don't know the names. The Patriots? I don't know. Anyway.
They're real. Yep.
Yeah. I really love to watch people surf. And surf videos are the most relaxing thing on the planet to me. The wave crashing and someone riding it, it's like I could watch for hours and hours and hours.
Were you like before writing this? I mean, has that always been the case? Okay.
Yeah, I always love to watch people surf. And so what was really, really cool is that when I decided I was going to do this thing about surfers, which I decided mostly because I was like, what sounds fun to me? And it was like, surfer sounds fun. And so I was talking to my manager, and, you know, he and I talk all the time. We're talking about various projects and what we're going to do next or whatever. And I'm like, listen, my next one, Malibu Surfers 1983. And he like gasps. He's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, why? And he was like, I surfed Malibu in 1983. And I was like, no way. And it turns out he's a huge surfer, and I just never knew it, like never came up in conversation, you know? And so I took him out to lunch very early on and grilled him for about 2.5 hours. And I still have my notebook. In fact, I have it, it's right here, which, see, this is a thing that doesn't happen when you're not doing a virtual event from your office.
You're like, here it is. I can show you.
I went through and just wrote down everything. Oh yeah, look at this. Like everything that he said about surfing, of like, oh, he goes to this place, you know, it's like all these notes. Yeah. I was just asking him questions and he would just answer them. And that was where I started. I was like, because sometimes I know so little, I don't even know what to ask.
What to ask, right? Yeah.
And so he gave me this breadth of knowledge to start from. And then it was like, okay, now I'm going to Wikipedia this and find out what a longboard is, who uses those, you know, like, and so it was the process of learning it, and also learning how to talk like I know what I'm talking about, right? But not so inside baseball that nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, you know? You made it accessible for people like me who, you know, just think about the sharks, and you made it enjoyable and intriguing, and it felt real. Taylor's a surfer, but
he did. I mean, you know, I'm not, but you know, I do, you know, it's the same way, like I'm not a rock star and I'm not a movie star, but I have so much passion for them that I can learn enough, right, to make it look like I know what I'm talking about for that period of time. But the one thing that is funny is, like, I'll have people now who will like want to talk to me about like 70s rock, and I'm like, totally, listen, I have not investigated 70s rock in like 3 years. I don't remember any of this. Like, you know, like I know I'm like supposed to seem like an expert, but I'm really like, I have a very
in that time.
Exactly. And then I have to move on to something else. And so now it's like, I know a little bit about surfing, and I know a lot about the next thing I'm doing, but you know, I now have like a limited expertise in these small areas of things that I'm throwing myself into.
It's good. It's working for you. Quick question before we wrap up. I know that they're doing Daisy Jones as a series.
Yes.
And I believe you're on it. You're working on it. Are you in the writer's room?
No, I am a producer on it, but I'm not writing it. And most of it's written by now. And I think they're going to start shooting this year. So, I mean, obviously, it would have shot last year, which was so heartbreaking, but they'll get back on it. And the cast is incredible. And the scripts that I've read so far are so good. And I'm just really, really excited about it.
Be delicious. That must be like wonderful.
I'm pretty stoked. Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the casting of it, and the casting is pretty amazing.
Riley Keough is Daisy Jones. I can't.
Elvis's granddaughter.
Yeah. Come on. I'm pinching myself. She's such a talent. She's such a talent.
Amazing.
Yeah. So amazing. And in the chat, we've had Robin, we've got love for you. We've got love for Taylor. Everybody's got their both books on their side table. So it's really awesome that one person I think said that she's like pinching herself, that she can't believe she's watching you two talking. So I think I love that.
Oh, that's so nice.
And we have somebody who is actually joining us from London. So we have got,
well, hello.
We've got quite a crew.
It's late there.
Yeah. So we've got lots of questions coming in, everybody. I'm not sure we're going to get to all of them, but I will try to get to as many of them as I possibly can. So the first one's from Brandy. The character Nina resonated with her so much. What character do you feel you related the most to?
I mean, Nina. Yeah. I think I put a lot of my anxiety into Nina. I think it was like the first time for me, certainly because I've been writing about like these very confident famous women for a while, where like Evelyn Hugo is like nothing's gonna stop her, and Daisy Jones is like gonna throw a temper tantrum if she doesn't get what she wants, whereas like I'm just not that way. I'm much more I don't know, anxious. And so it was nice to be able to write a character where some of the thoughts in my own head could come out. I mean, in some ways there are elements of Evelyn Hugo that I agree with her, but I can't do what she does, you know? Whereas Nina, it's like, yeah, I would be at a party being like, everyone is ruining my house. I'm just going to go sit in the pantry. Yeah. Like that is what I would do.
That was very difficult for me to read, by the way, as a type A person, the way that.
Right? Like, no, get out of I would be yelling at him just to get out. I would.
Honestly, I wouldn't have thrown the party in the first place. People are not worth it. Being in my house and ruining my things, no.
Don't need to be around people like that. But I mean, the way that the whole thing of the party, though, is that it's just such this, and it was so great the way that you did that too in the 80s. It's because think about it, there's no like social media. People just knew to come, and that's how it was. I mean, you kind of just knew that there were these parties. I was telling Taylor earlier, I'm old. I remember what it was like partying in the 80s.
Reminds me of it. I spent my junior year living in France, and my best friend and I took a train down to Spain for like 3 days towards the end of our year there. And we were at San Sebastian, and it rained for part of it. It's a beach, right? But it rained for part of the time. And we stayed in our hotel room and we just read Jackie Collins novels, and we switched like Hollywood Husbands and Hollywood Wives. And there was an element of that for me. Like it was like there was these fictional like movie stars, but they overlap, and someone would show up in the other book, and had incredible parties, and like they had these scenes, and everyone would come in with like different storylines. It's like I recognize this, and I felt like that excitement, except it was more emotional. I'm more invested in Nina and her siblings, but it reminded me of like that thrill when I love
that. It makes me happy. Like I just want to write something that's fun. Like I put so much heart and soul into like why the characters do what they do and what I'm trying to say and all that. Like I really do like bleed for it. But at the end of the day, like I just want you to be able to open up the book and just not want to put it down. You know, like that's just the first goal is like, let me just give you a break from your life for a second. That's what I've always wanted from art is like, just let me escape. And it's what I'm trying to do. So thank you.
Well, and Robin, when Taylor and I were talking earlier at the luncheon event about her just keen ability to morph these people into, I think I know who she's talking about. She's got that. It's so fantastic the way you just pick from different people and make that happen. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's really
so Jared is asking, if your daughter could grow up to be like any of your characters, which one would you choose?
Oh, wow. Well, isn't this telling that my answer is that I'm the most like Nina Riva, but my answer for who I want my daughter to be is I want her to be nothing like Nina Riva, which I want the time in which women are sitting around being the ones to hang back and clean up everything. I want that to be a thing of the past, and so I don't want that for my kid. I want her to wrestle what she wants out of this world and know she deserves it. And I think if that's anybody, it's Evelyn. I think in my acknowledgments to her, which I remember because she makes me read them to her a lot, is I said in the back of Evelyn Hugo, Evelyn would want you to go out there and, wrestle what you want out of the world with both hands or whatever. And then I think I said something about like, but also be kind, and it's like, yeah, I want my daughter to be kind. Evelyn Hugo would not tell her to be kind. So I guess I want my daughter to be like Evelyn. I want her to have that confidence that she can go after what she wants. But I want my daughter to inherit a world better than the one that Evelyn lives in, And I think that's part of why I take it as seriously as I do to create these female characters that just show one more way of going about being in the world. I know I can't single-handedly change much, but I know that I can write characters that make it a little bit easier if you feel like one of them, and so I'm always thinking about that with my kid. What are the characters I'd like to put forth in the world that she's inheriting?
Yeah. Which brings us to another great question from Jackie. She loves how you include and normalize queer relationships in your stories. What inspired you to make some of your female characters queer, and why is it an important detail for you to include in your books?
I mean, it's an important detail for me because so many of the people that I love in this world are queer. I think, I'm not, it's hard to say. I'm married to a man and I love him. I'm not totally straight, like the love that can exist between two women is something that I think is something to be celebrated. People are celebrating it, and that makes me happy, and I gravitate toward art that celebrates it, and I want to continue to make it clear to the people in my life that are queer, to my readership that's queer, that's like, I think this is great. I think you should love who you love, and I think there's value in telling stories like that and elevating those relationships.
Agreed, 1000%. Ronell, Marissa, and Lindsay, you all sort of have asked sort of the same question, so I'm kind of morph it together a little bit. So Marissa, is your next book, will it be in the 90s, and will a character appear? Is it historical? Next book in the past? So talk about what the next one's going to be like.
I mean, I have all of these answers, but I'm going to be very coy, which is to say, as we were talking earlier, Julie, I think these 4 books, which is to say Evelyn, Daisy, Malibu, and the next one, will work as a quartet. And then I don't know what comes after that, but I'm staying in this space for a little while longer. I have a plan to make this feel like I've said what I have to say in this space. There's one last sort of archetype that I would like to talk about, and there will be characters that you've seen before. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah. Love that. And I think everybody else is loving that too. So Jennifer, your question's a little bit long, so I'm going to kind of condense it a little bit, and it's more of a statement actually. She loves the box analogy and wants to know if you are aware that this is an indigenous American tradition.
Oh no, and so if I stole it,
No, I don't think she's saying
oh,
it's just, oh, no, she loves it, that it's like the collection of sacred things to create something that the child can carry and lean on through their life journey.
that's beautiful, and I know nothing about it, and now that gives me something to research because it sounds absolutely exactly up my alley, and probably I'll Google it and start crying.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm so glad to know that.
yeah, so that was from Jennifer. So sorry, the questions are coming in kind of fast here. So Evelyn Hugo was the first novel you wrote in this universe. What made you want to continue to write the other books in the Evelyn verse?
It's a good question. I thought when I wrote Evelyn, I had almost like this like depression after I was done because I thought, well, that was the most fun I've had in my career, and I've done it now, and there's not I can't do anything else. Like I wrote about a famous person, so I've already done that once. And I just couldn't get this idea out of my head that I really wanted to write about songwriters that wanted to sleep together. It's like I just want to write about that. I want to write about two people who aren't sleeping together but so badly want to. And like just and so I sat with it for a while and I was like, well, I can't do that. It's too close to Evelyn. And then I was like, no, it's not. It's totally different. And I have so much to say and I'm so excited. And so when that worked, when I understood that felt totally different, it was like, oh my gosh, I can keep doing this. I have more to say and I can, and it has been the most refreshing and thrilling and just exciting thing to happen in my career is to have this inspiration and to be able to go and follow that, and the fact that readers are trusting me to continue with this, and it has truly been such a gift to have found this space. I'm so creatively satisfied by it.
Love
Well,
it. And I don't think we talked about earlier. Oh, sorry,
Because
Robin, go ahead.
what's so refreshing is that you continuously change the structure. And so
Thank you.
this one is very unexpected. It feels something completely new and unrelated. And that is really rare and lovely to see.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing that, because there are times when I'm like, why don't I just use the structure that I know works?
No.
But like, no, I want to keep challenging
Hard because you're taking on something completely new and too.
I want to find a new
way to tell the story
entry into it. Yeah.
But and Robin, I know you'll agree with this too, but once you start, she just grabs you and you are just on this journey and you are just like, cannot wait to get through it. I mean,
Thank you.
Even though the structure changes, it's like you still got that thing that just grabs us, which I just love. It's like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Somebody's asking in the chat real quick, where is Nick in Daisy Jones?
He is at the party that Daisy throws at the chateau when she jumps into the pool in the caftan.
And
yeah. He's there mixing up trouble. And I think if you read Malibu Rising and then you go back and read Daisy Jones, you'll see I'm up to something. I was planting some seeds.
Love it. But I'm assuming that Nick might not be able to show up in the next book, but I don't know. We don't know what time period we're talking about. So
I gotta tell you, from a totally like business perspective, every time I write McRiva, my lawyer has to go figure out how I haven't messed up all my contracts. So if I've learned to only use him if he needs to be there. So I have to be very judicious now with my use of McRiva.
That was going to be that was going to be my question for you after off the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Legally, these characters. That's a whole other. Okay.
Lots of questions about Kit. What everybody loves Kit. That's a favorite arc of the book. Do you see future Kit anywhere?
Oh, I could write Kit all day, every day. I love her. I love Hud. I love Jay. I love Nina. I love them. And so I will say, this has been the hardest book to put aside and to finish because I just love spending time with them. There's a lot for Kit to do. I don't know what form that takes. It's not front of mind right now, but Kit is a huge Kit means a lot to me. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a phone ringing in my background. It will stop soon.
Oh, I don't hear it.
And a couple people, yeah, sorry. A couple people have asked this about Taylor Swift songs, and I did put in the chat, there's the Spotify link, so that is in the chat. You can scroll up and see the Spotify list that Taylor put together, the Malibu one. Can you match Taylor Swift songs to your books?
Okay, wait, so who asked that? And did the person that asked that on Tuesday too?
Andrea, I don't know.
Andrea, were you the one that asked for this before? Because oh my God, there's literally multiple people asking it. This makes me so happy. Right. I don't know how this got started, but it makes me so happy. I can match Taylor Swift to anything. Right. And I've had more time to think about this question. So.
And there's actually Francesca asked it too about connected to Evelyn, Daisy, and Malibu. Yeah.
So look, I can tell you, I can relate any Taylor Swift song to Evelyn Hugo. It works perfectly for so many things. I had given a few answers before, so I'll just give different songs now, so the answers are different. For Evelyn Hugo, Dress is a really good one for Evelyn. I won't give away spoilers for Evelyn and Someone. For Daisy Jones, I had said The Lakes, which is a bonus track off of Folklore that I really, really love. But I also think New Year's Day has a real like Billy Camilla vibe to it. And then when I was asked this on Tuesday, I didn't have an answer for Malibu Rising. I was like, I want to sit with it. I want to get it right. And after I left the Zoom, I was like, I know the answer to this. And it's actually not even a full song, but just one couplet. One of my favorite Taylor Swift lines ever, "You made a rebel of a careless man's careful daughter," is one of my favorite lines of hers. And just the specificity and like visceral reaction I have to careless man's careful daughter, that's Nina Riva. So there you go. But I hope I keep getting this question because I could keep doing it forever.
I think it's fantastic. And somebody does TikToks with matching Taylor Swift books, and she's seen that on TikTok, matching your books to Taylor Swift songs on TikTok to your books.
I really love TikTok, but I've really tried to I know if I see anything with myself in it and I watch it, TikTok's going to keep sending me things like that. I don't want them, but it's like, I do want to see that.
Yeah. So that might be one thing. So Sydney's asking, is Malibu Rising, if Malibu Rising got adapted for TV or film, who do you envision playing Nina?
I'm not ready for this. Yeah, I mean, I love this question because I could answer it forever, but you know, there could be things in the mix. And so, you know, I'll leave it at, I'm feeling very hopeful that this project can take other forms. And so I think, and I do have one particular actress that I think would be great, and let's see if it happens. If it happens, I will tell everyone the truth that this was what I wanted from the beginning.
Exactly. Did the pandemic inspire more story ideas or hinder it, or maybe a mix of both? That's from Lindsay.
It inspired more ideas. It very intensely limited the amount of time that I have to do it because I have a kid and we had to pull her out of school. And I'll say this, talking about Taylor Swift, I have never had such a creative jealousy as what Taylor Swift has been able to do over this pandemic, to put out her two arguably best albums and to do it in this space. I just kept going like, I want to put out my two best things right now. Like, I want to have the time to do this. Like, how did she do it? You know,
no kids.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't.
She probably wasn't homeschooling and making dinner for
the kid thing, you know, limited my time. But I will say this, like, I think so often there's a narrative in our culture that when you become a parent, or certainly like as a woman in my 30s, that like you slow down, or that your most interesting years are behind you or whatever. And I feel the exact opposite. I feel like I'm a horse behind the gate, and I am ready to go, and I have so much that I want to do and so many things that I'm excited about. And my daughter's back in school now, so everybody watch out. I'm like, I'm really creatively fulfilled and excited by this time. It's now just how many hours are there in a day, you know? And what I won't do is give up my time with my kid in order to do it. The one thing that is more joyful to me than writing, which is joyful and also miserable, is being with my kid and hearing her, very precocious opinions at the age of 5. And so
5 is the best.
Yeah, I mean,
Ugh.
I for sure, I was just talking to my husband about this. I was like, I can't wait to have a baby. Babies are so snuggly, they're so great. And I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, what do I care about a baby for? Babies are cute, but like at 5, come on. She's got such strong opinions, and like she's just a very precocious kid, and it just cracks me up. And so, it's nothing comes before that.
5 is the best. I mean, there's a lot of good, but there's something special about that 5, because it is.
Only when you get to 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Leave them in their room.
Yeah.
Come down for dinner.
Pretty much. That's exactly. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I heard myself say to my daughter, "Stop trying to push me out of your life."
Oh, God.
Okay, don't come into my room. What do you need? Like,
No.
Well, Robin, this question is for you. Are you planning on releasing another novel?
oh goodness, I hope so. Someday. I'm writing, and I'm trying to write while juggling, motherhood, and I also have an acting career, sort of, kind of, that demands my attention. But yes, I am working on another novel that I'm excited about. And
Well, we'll have to have you back down here to San Diego when it happens. Taylor, come down too. We're running out of time, everybody. I know you still have a lot of questions out there. So maybe you can go catch another one of Taylor's events, and maybe you can get some questions answered there. So in closing, couple things. Like I said, I put the Spotify list in there. There's a book club kit that we might be sending out to people.
Yeah.
I got to talk with Allison about that. And I want to thank Random House for having us do this. I absolutely adore hosting you, Taylor. In closing though, Taylor, what do you want your readers to take away from reading Malibu Rising?
I want them to take away 2 things. And I think the first one is, I just want you to have a good time. I think that we've all just been stuck in our houses for such a long time, and the world is starting to open up. And I would love to have the privilege of transporting you somewhere, and letting you escape. That's number one. And then the other thing is that, there are a lot of Nina Rivas in the world. Those people who will do the hard thing and keep doing it. And I wanted to signal to them that it's okay to put it down, and to just breathe for a moment. It's a thing that I think those people in particular need permission in order to do. A lot of times, I know when I've felt like that in my life, I've needed someone to tell me to do it. I haven't felt ready to do it on my own. So if this book can be any reminder to just take a breath and, take space for yourself, that's my hope.
Love it. And congratulations on the Jenna pick.
Thank you.
That was great news. I was telling earlier, it's like the fairy dust with Reese's pick and Jenna's pick. It's like, congratulations on
I've
that.
been very fortunate. Thank you. Thank you
awesome.
very much. And thank you for having this. And Robin, thank you for doing this.
Robin, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. This is a fantastic read for the summer. Yes, it's a beach read, but it's so much more than that too. And it just is such a great read. It's always a pleasure talking to you and reading your books. And Robin, thank you. And so when I close this out, we don't go back into a green room, so it kind of closes for everybody.
This is goodbye.
This is goodbye. So
thank you so much to you both. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
to everybody for coming.
Best of luck, everybody. Bye.